and you need to polish them with these. So the glass tips years ago, if they broke, they were garbage. Nowadays, I'm telling you, we could fix it with this. Okay, these are all from Meissinger.
But so far, all the procedures that we're talking, you haven't touched it.
Not yet. Sapphire you're going to use. So sapphire, why would I use a sapphire tip? Because you can put a lot more energy through it. Okay. Variant tips are very limited in the amount of energy, especially the flat variant is only 200 watts. I mean 2 watts, which is 2 watts, which is like 100 millijoules and 20 hertz, which is nothing. So I'm cleaning out a real heavy granulation tissue. I'm going to put my cylinder on. My cylinder has 600 millijoules of energy in there. So the more energy you need, you're going to have to change it. Or you want to cover a bigger area. We'll go over that. So this is what you polish sapphire. So there's the variant of X pulse tip with a radial fiber tip. You notice how it's pointed like a pencil. 85% of the energy comes out this way, 15% comes out the tip. The biggest thing about this is the bubble it creates, the shock wave it creates. So that's what gets rid of the smear layer. This is what. Those are the shock waves. That's the photoacoustic effect. If you took the cladding off of this, it'd be a Pips tip. Okay? Except Pips tips are patented. So that's all it does. And those shock waves, imagine that inside of a pocket now. You know, a small pocket, those shock waves beat against the walls of the tooth, beat against the inside of the tooth, removes the endotoxins off the roots, creates that fine etch on there, and removes the smear layer. Okay, that's what makes it all work.
How, is it time limit? You can use this as well.
Well, yeah, you don't want to keep it in there too long. But I'll show you. I mean, you're going to see the videos next, and that will make sense. Yeah, you don't want to keep anything in there too long. Erbium is safer leaving it in longer. Nd:YAG is not. Nd:YAG because of the heat. And this is the power of the shock waves. And Eli went over that. Sweeps is a second shock wave. And it hasn't been proven. He's showing you some studies that are just starting to be done in perio, but there's nothing that has been, the studies are just out there. And that was one of the big things we talked about. Is it used in perio pockets? And we talked about that in Slovenia at the meeting, and no, you can't use it. It may be an extraction socket, maybe an osteotomy. We don't know yet. Other things you want to use, you want bone instruments, you want a small carrier, you want long instruments, because a lot of times you're getting into the tiny areas. These are by H&H Surgical. They're, I think, out of Idaho now. They used to be out of Ontario, California.
You mind going to one previous slide?
Pardon me?
You mind going to the previous?
That one?
Thank you. That's it.
So, could you use sweeps in extracting sockets and osteotomies because of the bubbles? Possibly, but there's no studies that show that. So I just used the X-Pulse tip, the radio firing tip that does it.
And same setting as sweep setting?
We'll go over that. Little at a time.
Yeah.
I can't confuse everybody. Okay. We use Cabotrons, you can use basal scalers. Okay, now these are your bigger tips. Okay. These are the cylinders. This is 12 millimeters long, this is 8 millimeters long. 1.3 means 1.3 millimeters wide, 1,300 microns wide. These are big fat guys. Now because they're so fat, you can put up to 600 millijoules through them, which is a ton of energy. So remind me today when we're doing hands-on, we'll put 600 millijoules through one of those, and you'll see it blow a hole, a huge hole in there if you use that much energy. So that's a lot of energy. Chances are you'll never go that high. But you can use 200 millijoules, okay? This tip has the most energy you can put through any tip. After that, you have to go to the tipless handpiece. And the length of the tips are, because of wherever you need to get, so you gotta use a longer tip. I use this in implant debridement. Here's your chisel tip, okay? There's your chisel. See, the energy level decreases, 200 millijoules. And then you go to the conical tip, which goes down to 600 microns, and you're going to put 200 millijoules through that. That tip there, especially the 16 millimeter, is the most fragile tip you can buy. It's about a $300 plus tip, but it will break very easily. So be very careful. So here's some of your tips. So those are, the only tip that's not on here is the Brilliant flat tip that would be here. But those are the tips I use. Those are the tips I have. I don't like a ton of tips. You need that many. So when we're going through them, I can show you the ones you need. You don't need to buy them all. Nor would you want them all. Okay, now what happens when your mirror gets gunked up? We're going to polish that mirror. So we're going to use these for that. Okay. Now, could you use acetone on your mirror? You can, but I don't find it gets that clean. This is real simple. Yeah, you know that too. So this is real simple to do. What you're going to do, and you want to do this. Don't let your assistant do this because I've had assistants screw this up, and I've had some good assistants. So what you're going to do, there's a tool that comes with your laser, and you just unscrew this back cap. You don't want to lose that back cap because if you do, you can't use your laser. You're going to screw this in. You're going to pull your mirror out, and see how gunked up that is. You're going to polish that off. The beam can't bounce off of that. So those are the things I just said. You're going to use the beige one, and you're going to go in there with a Dremel, just very lightly polish it, just very lightly, like feather. Okay, there's my Dremel. I'm low.
Is that 1 week worth?
That's probably 4 days.
4 days?
4 or 5 days. Okay, so now what I'm doing is just polishing. See, it's really light and it just polishes up real nicely. And then you want to get the sides too. And just polish the sides. And then when you put it back in, you want to make sure the O-ring is intact on your hand. So I'll show you that. So there's the O-ring, make sure that's intact. It seats all the way in, back it out, make sure it's seated, and then put your back cap on. Now this is the important thing, don't cross-hex the back cap. And the back cap is very easy to lose. If you lose your back cap, you can't use your handpiece. You have to get a new back cap. So have a second one there. 1/2 turn to seat it, and then tighten it down, finger tight. Don't over tighten it. If you cross-hex it or tighten it too tight and you can't get it off, it goes back to Slovenia to fix. Because they don't fix it up. Okay? And then you're done. That's your mirror maintenance. So it should be like that, better than that. This is your straight attachment. So this part here is your coupler. Your coupler can fit your tipless handpiece, your tipped handpiece, and you can also buy a straight attachment. A straight attachment's good for anterior areas. Instead of going like this. You'll see some of the pictures. Okay? These are microsurgical blades I do when I do grafts.